Going to take a quick look at compression now, again using Final Cut Pro because we can see it happen right before our very eyes. It's like magic. I went ahead and left the noise gate that we added before. Remember, on a noise gate there's a threshold across the bottom of the sound. So in this case the noise gate literally acts as a barrier. If the sound doesn't get above the noise gate, we're never going to hear it. So the noise gate literally removes that from the sound. It's important to put the noise gate first because we don't really want to process the noise as part of the compressor or as part of EQ or as a part of anything else. So the noise gate really should come first. I've added this compressor here and I've modified some settings so that we basically don't have any compression taking place. What we're going to look at is the threshold and the ratio. And then we're going to use this auto gain to sort of balance everything out at the end. You see on this voiceover, there's a loud spot and then it sort of trails off. There's a loud spot and it trails off. At the end I say thank you, but I can't even say those two words even close to the same level. So compression in this case is used to help smooth out that vocal sound. It's used to take the high spots, bring them down closer to the lower spots, and then that's where the auto gain is going to come in. We're going to boost that overall signal. So let's take a look at the threshold. In the case of the threshold on a compressor, the threshold is starting across the top and it's going to come down. So we're going to want to set a threshold across this area of the sound so that it brings it closer to this area. The threshold acts together with the ratio. So what's that mean? You can't have one without the other. Watch what happens when I change the threshold. Look at these high spots in the waveform. As I bring the threshold down, nothing happens because there is no compression taking place until something happens with the ratio. Let me click this graph button. Along the bottom of this graph we have the input level. Along the left hand side of this graph we have the output level. So right now there's a linear line from one corner to the other. The input and output are exactly the same. Watch what happens when I bring the ratio down to, let's say, 2 to 1. You know that 1 to 1 ratio means equal. Those things are exactly the same on both sides of the ratio. If I make it 2 to 1, well, the input is 2 and the output is 1. So you start to see this thing smooth out on the edge. Now watch what happens as I bring the threshold down. Okay, you can either look at the graph or you can look at the waveform. Okay, again, bringing it down to -10, and we're seeing at -10 dB the sounds start to smooth off a little bit. So that ratio, think of it in terms of a fraction. 2 to 1 is the same as 1/2. So the output signal is 1/2 of the input signal. So right there we've already smoothed it out. If we were to actually get any higher, like way up in here, this is actually called a limiter because basically the signal is not being allowed to go over that threshold. So the threshold at -10, it's almost cutting off that sound. As you get up to here, that's called a limiter. So let me smooth it out down to here to where I was, and then I'm going to click the auto gain because that's really what a compressor does, is it takes the upper level, it brings it under control using the threshold and the ratio, and then we can adjust the overall level on the output side of things. So I'm going to use that -12 dB auto gain, and that's going to bring everything up to a really good level for a voiceover. Now you see the words thank you are closer together. If I wanted to see if I could bring these words even closer together, then I might bring, again, that threshold down a little bit. I might bring the ratio up a little bit so you can see it really starting to smooth out there. And then maybe I could go back and add a little bit extra gain to bring them up even more. Really get those words thank you to match each other by bringing up that ratio, maybe bringing down the threshold, and then adjusting some of that output volume. And that, my friends, is compression in a nutshell. Now it's going to take us a long time to really master that. What you're going to turn in for this assignment, read carefully, is a screenshot. So I don't want to see anything other than just a picture of what your processed audio looks like. Close that inspector, close that effects, Shift Z will fit the space in there, and I can take a picture of that, and that is some smoothed out audio. So again, let's take a look at it with no effects, noise gate, yuck, compressor, all over the place. Put those things back and you've got something that's nice and smoothed out. Add a little bit of music bed underneath it, and it's going to sound great.